Change. It is definitely something we can always rely on. Accepting and adjusting to changes is seldom easy. It's common to experience strong emotions and internal turmoil when changes occur in our lives. How well we deal with this internal emotional process affects our health and well-being. It doesn't matter if a change is minor or major. Any change can trigger an internal process, which we call a transition. Hi everyone, Tara here with your Wildcat Extension District, and I have another Tuesday tip. Change is external and is often outside of our control. A transition is more internal, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitudes, and we have some control over transitions. Whenever a change occurs, a transition follows. Understanding that process can help us master changes and deal with our feelings better. The transition process consists of 3 phases. Endings are the actual starting of the transition. Even a positive change involves some form of ending. For example, getting married or starting a new job. Something does end. Endings involve letting go of the old and what was. Accepting a change or an ending does not necessarily mean we approve of it or have given up. It just means we are doing what we must in order to move on to whatever is next. The wilderness period is the core of the transition. It is the time between the old and the new, and it can feel like a no man's land. The old is gone, but the new may not feel quite right yet. It's necessary to spend some time in this wilderness period to come to terms with and accept what has ended. Again, this is not always bad. Even with a new job, the wilderness phase can still cause emotions such as anxiety, tension, and even emptiness. Don't rush this period and be self-forgiving during this time. A new beginning is achieved only after we have dealt with what has ended and spent some time in that wilderness period. It's the time when we start to move forward. We may not always see that clear sign that we are there, but we may just feel a little bit more refreshed and ready to move forward than you have been for a while. Understanding the transition process can provide us with insight into our reactions to a difficult change. It also explains why we may not feel good when we have made that best decision possible. A transition is the business of finishing the old so that we can begin anew. We all face hardships and challenges at some point, and resiliency is the ability to bounce back from those difficulties. And sometimes, honestly, I don't feel like I bounce back like I think I should. However, the good news is that resiliency can be learned and cultivated. A positive attitude is a key in adjusting to change or trials and making transition easier and helping us to make the best possible decision. In some situations, our attitude may be the only thing within our control. An optimistic outlook is helpful and it lifts our spirits. A pessimistic attitude usually pulls us down. Now, being optimistic doesn't mean we ignore, deny, or put a lid on our negative feelings and reactions. As we discussed last week, it's important to listen to our emotions and to use them to take better care of ourselves. But people who are optimistic get beyond these feelings to make the most of a situation and to bounce back. There are 7 tools of optimism that are helpful to have in our well-being toolbox. View setbacks as temporary. An optimist sees difficult situations as temporary and believes that things will work out. View misfortune as specific, not universal. An optimist sees life as generally good and a negative event as affecting only a part of life. And view challenges as opportunities. What is a challenge teaching you, or ways you can problem solve instead of just focusing on why? Then focus on improvements. How can I move forward, and how has this situation helped me? Give yourself credit for what you do. Optimists take credit for the good things that happen, And we don't feel responsible for the bad things over which we have no control. Recognize beliefs are not facts. One mistake we often make is to believe that the negative things we think or say to ourselves are true. We need to challenge that self-criticism just as we would challenge someone who wrongly accuses us of something. And finally, practice the power of positivity. Easier said than done, I know. It's good to recognize negative feelings, but resilient people also find ways to see the little bits of good. Thank you for being a part of this series. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer and you are able to take some time for you and what's most important.